So, recently, I fell into one of those dangerous artist rabbit holes again. You know, when you open Twitter or Pinterest for 5 minutes, and suddenly it's been 3 hours. Your self-esteem is gone, and now you want to completely change your art style? Yeah, that happened to me. And honestly, there are some artists that generally make me stare at the screen like, how? How are you even human? So in today's video, I want to do something a little different. Instead of just drawing normally, I'm gonna analyze some of my favorite artists, figure out what makes their art look so good, and learn from their techniques. And then try applying everything I learned into my own illustration. And honestly, I'm kinda scared, because some of these artists are literally insane. So, after stalking, professionally studying all these artists for an unhealthy amount of hours, I started noticing patterns. Like, generally, once you compare a lot of artists side by side, you realize everyone has different styles, but they all understand the same fundamentals in completely different ways. And that kinda changed my brain chemistry a little bit. First, we need to talk about Dino, because, hello? The first thing I notice is how insanely good their compositions are. Like, their illustrations never feel flat, even when the character is barely moving, the image still feels alive somehow. And I realized a huge reason for that is they use a lot of asymmetry. Nothing is perfectly straight. The shoulders tilt, the hair flows in weird directions, accessories overlap, and clothes bend naturally. Everything feels like it exists in motion. And I also noticed they exaggerate shapes constantly, especially in hair and clothing folds. They are designed to look good, which honestly sounds obvious, but I think beginner artists sometimes get trapped trying to make everything technically correct instead of visually appealing. And stylization is literally controlled exaggeration, which is terrifying but also cool. Then I looked at Yueko, and generally, hair color usage is insane. I noticed she uses very soft transitions, but she still keeps contrast exactly where it matters. Your eye automatically goes to the brightest area, the strongest saturation, and the sharpest edges. And she uses that so well. The face is usually where the strongest contrast is. Meanwhile, the rest of the illustration is softer and more controlled, which creates this dreamy anime cinematic look that I absolutely love. Then we have Requiem, which honestly, looking at their art feels so pleasant and so dynamic. And I realize they push perspective way harder than most artists. Extreme angles, foreshortening everywhere, her flying around, and honestly, that's something I'm scared of doing, because dramatic perspective means you can fail dramatically too. But their work made me realize, sometimes exaggerated perspective is exactly what gives a drawing impact. The last artist is Pluvium. This artist has one of my favorite atmosphere styles ever. Their illustrations feel cinematic in a way I genuinely cannot explain properly. There is blur, lining layers, objects that enhances composition, which creates so much depth instantly. Meanwhile, sometimes my drawings look like a character PNG on an empty background. So after aggressively staring at their art for an unhealthy amount of time, I noticed that, first, almost none of them rely on details alone. Like, the art is detailed, but the reason it looks good is because the big shapes already work. Good silhouette, good lining, good composition, and good values. The details come after. Which is honestly bad news for me, because my usual strategy is add more hair highlights until the drawing magically works. It doesn't work, by the way. The second thing I noticed, their colors are never random. Everything feels intentional. So I started color picking parts of the drawings, and I realized they usually repeat colors around the illustrations. In the shadows, highlights, background, clothes. That's why the whole piece feels cohesive. And another huge thing, their art has focal points. Your eye immediately knows where to look. And I think this is one of the biggest differences between beginner art and professional art. So now, it was finally time to test all of this. I decided to draw a Hololive character because honestly, anime girls are the perfect test subjects. And my mission was simple: try applying everything I learned. So first, I started with a sketch and immediately tried thinking more about silhouette and flow instead of obsessing over tiny details. Then, for the colors, I focused way more on harmony. I wanted the lighting to feel softer and more cinematic, kind of inspired by the atmosphere I love so much in Yueko's work. But at the same time, I also pushed contrast harder in some areas inspired by Dino's rendering style. And honestly, this process felt super weird at first because instead of drawing an autopilot, I was actually thinking about why I was making each choice. And while rendering, I kept asking myself, where do I want people to look first? So instead of detailing everything equally, I focused the sharpest rendering around the face and hands and kept other areas softer. And generally, I think this changed the final result a lot. And finally, this was the result. Honestly, I feel really happy with it. And I finally think I learned something super important. Studying artists is about understanding why their art makes you feel something. Color, lighting, composition, shape, language, mood. Once you understand that, you can start applying it to your own work, in your own style. And I feel like this video reminded me that improving at art isn't just about practicing more, but about observing better. So now I wanna know, who are your favorite artists? Like, generally spam them in the comments. I'm always looking for new artists to obsess over. I kinda wanna make more videos like this, maybe analyzing one specific artist or focusing on a single technique or art style. So if there's an artist or technique you want me to study next, tell me in the comments. And if you're also an artist or just starting your art journey, we have a Discord server, our tiny little atelier full of artists, art resources, feedback, and honestly just really nice people who love drawing. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe because we are getting dangerously close to me turning this channel into a full-time artistic crisis. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!